Welcome to Season 2 of Under the Sisterhood. Over the 31 days of March, we are celebrating 31 Women's March of Voices during Women's History Month. We will have intimate conversations that will uncover each woman's superpower and find out how they use these superpowers to help other women. That's 31 days honoring 31 women and their superpowers. This is a podcast to celebrate women and all that they do in our world. I'm Elizabeth Elfenbein. Let's get under the hood. Today, I'd like to welcome Kim McDonnell. Kim is an impact innovator, social entrepreneur, strategic marketer, thought leader, keynote speaker, author, and the founder of Thankful.org. She believes doing good is good for business and social impact is a powerful business driver. Her company, Thankful, is leading the conversation in positivity and is the world's first global lifestyle brand founded on more than 20 years of scientific research. They are the first multi-product, multi-cause social impact brand that combines global scale, positivity, profit, and measurable impact. I am so honored to be celebrating Kim today. Welcome.
Elizabeth, thank you so much. And I'm delighted to be here with you and feel very humbled to be part of the Under the Sisterhood podcast series.
Well, we are very humbled to have you here because Thankful.org is an amazing organization doing so many. I mean, I cannot get over the vast things that you're doing on there. And so with that, why don't we get going?
Thank you. Would love to.
So I think we start off with celebrating your story. It would be great to hear what you're all about, Kim.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So, gosh, my story. I grew up in the outback town here in Australia of Mount Isa, which is a really tough mining town and a very typical mining town. I left home when I was 17 because I wanted to choose a different life and really wanted to explore what existed beyond those vast red soils of the Australian outback. And moving down to Melbourne, I went to university down there and embarked on a career of advertising and marketing. And for more than 25 years, I built my career and spent all of my time working in what is a wonderful industry, learning a lot about a whole variety of different other industries and working with some incredible people. But I had this nagging feeling in the back of my mind, how can I use those skills that I had acquired throughout the course of my career, instead of convincing people to buy more stuff that they didn't really need with credit cards that they didn't really want, but actually use those very same skills to make the world a slightly better place or as better place as possible. So in 2013, talking to my partner about this idea, he said, stop talking about it, do something about it. So I did. So I spent a lot of time researching and talking to global leaders and thought experts, and traveling a lot to the US as well to really understand some of those new and innovative business models that were starting to emerge around social enterprise. And finally decided on a business model that we were incredibly proud of, one that combined doing good at the very core of its DNA and had the ability to be globally scalable and have as big an impact as possible. But it was contingent upon being able to globally trademark the word thankful, to be able to partner with global brands. And walking into an IP lawyer's office and suggesting that we needed to globally trademark the word thankful, they fell off their chairs laughing and said, go back to the wonderful world of advertising and marketing because it's not going to happen. But we were persistent because we were really determined that we wanted to create the world's first global lifestyle brand supported by more than 20 years of scientific research. But to do that, we had to sell everything because trademarking is and protecting IP is an incredibly expensive exercise. So not only did I walk away from that 25 plus year in advertising and a big job with a big salary, we had to sell our family home. We had to sell the holiday house and everything that we owned, literally, in order to be able to do this. So I was very lucky to have a very supportive partner and family who wholeheartedly jumped in with me. And then in 2016, we realized that we also needed to move over and relocate to the US, who were a little bit more advanced in understanding social enterprise models and these types of business models and social impact. So we moved to New York, took kids out of private schools here in Australia, brought them over to New York to go to New York City public schools, had not much other than our 6 suitcases and a lot of hope and ambition to want to make the world a better place. But we were embraced by that beautiful city, which I love so much, New York, and the creativity and the diversity. And we were embraced into the social impact community, ended up doing a lot of work with the United Nations, particularly around the 17 SDG goals and UN Women. We work with as well to be thankful for women and girls, because when we're thankful for women and girls, we're never going to have to have a conversation about gender equality or eliminating violence against women, because every woman will and their value will be recognized, and ended up securing investment funding as well. But then coming back to Australia in 2020 to launch an initiative to really address climate change and future food security. So thankful for farmers, and reminding everybody that every single day, at least 3 times a day, we need a farmer, and to recognize those hardworking men and women who produce the food that we eat. So that's it in a bit of a nutshell. And between all of that, I'm a wife and a mum as well.
That's a pretty amazing nutshell. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, there's so much to unpack here. I mean, so you started off with this whole notion of wanting to do something to change the world, make the world a little bit of a better place, which I can relate. That's what we're trying to do as well with Under the Sisterhood. How did you, I mean, when we think about thankful.org, how did thankful, like, what was that inflection, that moment that you came up with that idea, and what was the initial idea, and, you know, sort of the journey as to where you are today? And the reason why this is important to know as a story is because I think that being thankful and gratitude is probably one of the most important things that we can do just for self-care and wellness. So, you know, what was that thing? You said 20 years of research, scientific research. What was that moment for you?
And I could talk all day about this research because it is quite incredible, and it has been proven through that research that the act of being thankful is the single most powerful tool we can all implement on a daily basis to improve our mental health and wellness. And we know right now in the world, as a consequence of the unpredictability and uncertainty, that, you know, we all suffer mental health and wellness challenges. And thankfully, it's now being discussed more openly as well. But as part of that research, being thankful is not just good for our mental health and wellness, it's actually good for our physical health as well. And the research has shown that being thankful improves our immune systems. It improves our cardiovascular health, and we're more likely to comply with medicine and doctors' advice when we are thankful for our health. It improves our relationships. It improves our ability to cope with chronic pain and a number of other things. But that research is now showing that being thankful is more than just a feeling. And not only does it impact our mental health and wellness, as well as our physical health, it actually is a powerful motivator to get us to take change and positive action in the world. So I mentioned before, when we're thankful for women and girls, we won't need to have a conversation about equality or elimination of violence, because every woman will be valued and recognized for their contribution to society at large. But when we're thankful for the planet, we're more likely to want to take action to protect it, restore it, regenerate it. And we know that talking about cold, hard facts about climate change just isn't working. So we, when we recognize and appreciate those things, it's so the science that sits behind it is extensive and continues, and there's so much. But for me, where it really started, I think, was with my children. And I can recall sitting in a parent-teacher interview when my children were very young, and, you know, nobody's perfect. And my children, one of my children suffers dyslexia. And I am a perfectionist. So going to those parent-teacher interviews would make me feel physically ill, because I knew what they were going to say. And they would tell me that, you know, where my child was at and that she was struggling, which was hard, is hard for any parent to hear. But during one of those parent-teacher interviews, I actually said to the teacher, stop. Stop telling me where my child is compared to other children in the classroom. Stop telling me what my child can't do. And let's just focus on how much she's improved in the last 6 months. And let's focus on what she can do and what she's passionate about. And I don't care if she's never going to be a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon or a lawyer. What I care about is having a happy, healthy child who feels worthy and capable of living an incredible life. So let's focus on the positive things. And if her passion is building sandcastles, let's make her the best sandcastle builder in the world, because it's that passion that is going to drive action. So it's really being thankful for who we are when we look in that mirror, because particularly as women, we are so tempted to see everything that we're not. And we see our perceived failings, our self-perceived failings, and we don't often go past that. And there was an amazing stat here in Australia that I read a few years ago now, but the average Australian woman was 47 years old before she looked in the mirror and liked what she saw. That's a lifetime. We all need to learn to be thankful for being perfectly imperfect, because we all are. And I think that's where the original notion and idea of thankful came from, but certainly my children.
Oh, that's so beautiful and so touching. And, you know, if all parents could figure that out and sort of understand that every child's different, every person's different. And yeah, teachers, I struggled. So I probably had a bit of dyslexia. So I struggled. I was in the wrong place and I never measured up to my older brother. And the truth was I was meant to go I was a visual thinker. I was meant to go to art school, not to go that other route. So everything you're doing and questioning and the space and the runway we give our children is really fantastic. And she's very lucky to have you. And I'm sure she's very thankful. But to build on that, I think that's really interesting how we use our families, our dynamics, the people we encounter, the people we live with, our children, brothers, sisters, mothers, to inspire us, because what you're doing, it's like you are paying forward tiny little moments, micro moments, macro moments. You're paying it forward on every single level. And so it would be helpful if you could just describe some of what you're doing, because I mean, I think thankful.org, I think this is just an opportunity. I want to celebrate everything you've done, Kim. And I think you've covered the nutshell, but let's get to all of what's in the beauty of what's inside and share it with everyone, because you're doing amazing things.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So in the US, when we were based over there, we launched an initiative called Thankful for Women. And Thankful for Women really is about celebrating every single woman and recognizing that every woman has a story to be told, and every woman's story is worthy of being told. So we launched that on International Women's Day at an event at Tavern on the Green. And this was a really beautiful and incredible event for a whole variety of reasons. It was incredible because of the generosity of the people that we engaged in. Tavern on the Green agreed to allow us to host a lunch for 150 people completely free of charge on International Women's Day. And we brought in a whole bunch of other partners as well. And whilst it would have been incredibly tempting to fill that room with 150 people of incredible achievement or high net worth and turn this into a fundraiser, we wanted to be true to what Thankful was all about and our values. So we partnered with a couple of shelters in New York, Henry Street, as well as Bowery Mission, who offer refuge to women who are homeless and more often than not have been victims of violence as well. We then partnered with Glam Squad and a beauty brand, and we invited these beautiful women from the shelters to come earlier to the event, where they could have their hair and makeup done by Glam Squad. They could select brand new clothes that they got to choose, and there was coaching and wellness as well. And then at lunchtime, the rest of our guests arrived, and there was no seating arrangements or pre-organized tables. Everyone could, the round tables, everyone could sit wherever they wanted. And everyone mingled. Nobody knew who was who. There was no judgment. Nobody cared whether you're living in a homeless shelter or whether you had millions of dollars in your bank account, because we were there to celebrate and recognize these women who normally don't even get seen on International Women's Day. And may sound incredibly trivial being able to have their hair and makeup done, but one story that really sticks with me, a beautiful woman, after she'd had her hair and makeup done, came up to me and she said, "Thank you for today's experience. It's just been incredible. And today, having my hair done and my makeup done was the first time I have been touched in several years by another human being, because the last time I was touched by a human being, it was such a traumatic experience. But just being touched and feeling another person's hand and warmth made me realize I'm not invisible and that I do actually matter." So that was one event, which was incredible. We then worked with women down in Florida, elderly women in Florida, and to really try and bust this beauty myth of what does beauty mean. And it was incredible. These women were in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and one woman was even 103. And we asked them all the question, what does beauty mean to you? And every single one of them said, beauty is what's on the inside that matters. Beauty is more than skin deep. Beauty is living a life well lived. And what was incredibly interesting, we then asked them the question, so are you beautiful? And they immediately said, absolutely not. Because as soon as we started talking about them, they referred to what they saw in the mirror, going back to that reflection that we all see our imperfections rather than our perfections. So it's amazing that these women still in their 70s, 80s, 90s were still having self-doubt. And these were incredible women, and we shared and told some of their stories because a lot of them had paved the way for the generations that came after them. So they were incredible women. We then went to Boston and worked with women who were chronically ill, to reminding them that their illness does not define who they are, nor is it how they will be remembered. We worked with teenage girls in San Francisco to empower them. We worked with teenage girls across vulnerable communities in New York and provided mentoring to them, as well as inspiration through guest speakers. So the work that we did through Thankful for Women was just incredible, and was the motivation to get up every single morning and keep going. Here in Australia, as I mentioned, we launched a Thankful for Farmers initiative as well. If you think about some of the big challenges that the world is facing right now, it's climate change and food security. Sitting at the heart of that solution is farming and agriculture. Farmers wear two hats as frontline food supply chain and responsible for our future food security, but they're also frontline environmentalists as custodians of the land, and through their farming practices can help reverse some of the impact of climate change. So they play such a critical role. So really understanding the value and recognition, and of course a large proportion of farmers, particularly in third world countries, are women. So we need to make sure that there is, again, gender equality and equity. In a lot of those third world countries, women can't actually own land or buy land, yet they're the ones plowing it and producing from it. So it all interconnects and ties back.
You're amazing. This is just, I mean, and the name Thankful, for you to be so determined to get that name and secure it and give up all that to get it, because it's a call to action. It's a rallying cry, like inherent to it. So, I mean, it's brilliant. I remember meeting our mutual friend June a few years ago. She's telling me, I have this amazing neighbor. She lives downstairs. She's doing this organization. And I think it's when I left advertising. So, I have been in advertising for 35 years, and I kind of gave everything up because I wanted to try something different. But I didn't have the inspiration you did. I wanted to go and be on the ground doing innovation, but I just so admire the road you've taken, the road less traveled, the scary road, giving up everything, the security, the certainty, to embark on something that I mean, to go on your website, you have so much wonderful content, so many things you're doing, but to speak to you about your passion and how it all began, the journey, not just as a woman, but as a human, that you really felt compelled to make that much of a difference, to make that your life's mission. And so that's just so beautiful, Kim. Thank you for sharing. That's an incredible story. I'm like, it's like poof, it's like, wow, it's fifth dimension material, as my daughter would say, because it's so unique. And the fact that you were sharing with me, you've been around since 2013. So to build on that, you're making certainly a better place. So the next question, and you haven't said this because you've talked about what you've done, but you haven't talked about who you are. And so this is a little more about who you are. So if you would, could you share your superpowers, Kim?
My superpowers, gosh. Well, if you ask my children my superpowers, they'd say it's my ability to cook them delicious dinners every single day. But I think my superpower is, my passion. I am so incredibly passionate, and I think passion is contagious. And my ability to just get stuff done, and not take that resilience and that grit, not take no for an answer. And as you know, Elizabeth, this journey of an entrepreneur, and particularly a social impact entrepreneur, is not an easy one. And some days you feel like you're taking 2 steps forwards and you take 10 steps backwards. So that resilience and that grit and, that hustle, being able to hustle, not giving up, and is so incredibly important. So I'm forever the optimist. I truly believe in I see the good in people. And sometimes it's to my own detriment, but I always prefer to believe there's more goodness than bad in people. So I'll always look for the positive and see the good.
That's wonderful. I love it. Yes, you're certainly passionate, and I love the grit and determination. You cannot be doing what you do without that. And I think it's interesting. I mean, social impact and all the good you're doing, your commitment to that, giving up. And it's like I've had a lot of conversations, and this hasn't really been in season 2, but conversations I've spoken with probably about 45 women to date. And I think that it's interesting that you gave up all of that external. So your life in advertising, all these big things, all the external, and you like to be able to take on and be on a mission. You have to look within a lot, and being willing to give that up and have your family give it up. It's just amazing. So that's just tremendous superpowers. How do you use these superpowers? Which of course you've talked about all the things you've done, but how are you using your superpowers to help other women?
Well, if I can provide inspiration to other women, so and I don't consider myself to be remarkable at all. So if I can offer that inspiration to other women that they can do it, to have a go, to back themselves, to celebrate who they are rather than what they're not, and to remind them that we are perfectly imperfect, and to look in that mirror and see 3 great things about yourself every single day rather than 3 negative things, then that in itself is something that I would be incredibly proud of.
Oh, that's definitely, that's huge. That's life-changing for women, for other people, when you can shift the mindset from the negative into the positive. And actually, I'm a little offended that you said you're not remarkable, but I mean, no one's going to say, oh, I'm remarkable, but you are remarkable. What you're doing is remarkable. What you did was remarkable. The things you accomplished in the advertising world, and the ability to sell your business, to then make a decision to go all in on an idea you had because you wanted to change the world. That's remarkable, Kim McDonnell. That is remarkable. So, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to leave with, but you are a remarkable woman.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that very, very much.
So, so this is it. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. This conversation has been amazing. I think I'm just so honored for the introduction to you, and to be able to hear your story and know everything you're doing. And you definitely inspire me. So, so I just want to say that. But is there anything else you wanted to add, Kim?
I do. I have one question for you, actually, Elizabeth. What are you most thankful for?
Ah, wow. So I thank you for asking that. I really appreciate being seen, and I am thankful for a lot of things. And so most thankful is kind of hard. When it comes to people, I am the most thankful to have 3 beautiful, healthy children who right now, all of them are doing pretty well. It's a journey. And so they're perfectly imperfect, and I love them with all of my heart. So I'm incredibly thankful for them. I'm thankful for my family, the support and love and the friends in my life. So on a human level, I'm thankful for time and space, and a blank canvas to create. This journey that I'm on, this next chapter, has been really interesting. I mean, giving up something that was secure and certain to go down a path. And I work at a startup as well as my Under the Sisterhood startup called Cherish Health, and I serve the aging population. And I have a literal blank canvas, not a lot of money, but I have a blank canvas. And my CEO's a visionary. He buys everything that I recommend. So the work has been really, really like work I'm viscerally proud of. And so I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful to have the means and the capacity to build something like Under the Sisterhood where I can make a difference in the world. So I don't have one thing I'm thankful for, but I am so thankful to be able to be here, to be connecting with women around the world. I have to tell you something, Kim. I was just having a conversation, as I mentioned earlier, with this woman, and I said, I leave every conversation. My cup is so full. My heart is so expansive. I'm like, it's beyond thankful. It's beyond gratitude. I am so happy. I feel guilty for being so happy. It's that good. And they're women from Ghana, from India. I mean, every day, Australia, every day I'm having a conversation with someone from a different part of the world. We have a sister circle in Pakistan. We have 16 to 18-year-old young women who, we have a facilitator, Amy. She's our head of programming. She's amazing. And Amy runs the circle, but I'm there every Saturday. And the relationships I'm building, and some of them are creative, and I'm like, we've got to think outside the box. You cannot. And they're like, that was so inspiring. So I am so thankful for the space, the blank canvas to pursue these things, to help do my part in trying to make the world a better place. I feel so much gratitude for the life that I have right now. And also, I want to leave you with one other thing to answer that question. My life used to be very, very complex, very, very busy, very, very chaotic. And I'm thankful that I've made a decision to make it very simple. Nature, gratitudes, connect with people where I'm going to make a meaningful connection, really being thoughtful and intentional about how I spend my time, as well creatively, working with companies like Cherish. I love the CEO. We're aligned from a vision perspective, working with people who I respect and admire. So I'm very thankful for all of that. Wow, now I'm like, how do I close this out, guys? This is amazing.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing. And we are incredibly thankful for all that you're doing, Elizabeth. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the time today. And I believe we're going to be doing work together. And we will. I know that you're on your mission with the farmers and affecting climate change, but I know, that there's a reason why we're connecting right now. So much thanks, and so thankful for this time today, Kim. Thanks.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Under the Sisterhood. If you haven't already, please give us a quick rating and review on Apple or Spotify. And make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn so you can hear from more amazing women. This podcast is created and hosted by Under the Sisterhood LLC and Elizabeth Elfenbein, produced by Elizabeth Elfenbein and Zach Slaff, and edited by Zach Slaff. The music is by Ayla Schaefer, her song, Rose.